Hello, everybody. My name is Felipe Banks, and I'm with my fellow student and former athlete, Savannah Bellamy.
How y'all doing, everybody?
And the man who does mostly all production at Albany State himself, Mr. Eric Tabor.
Greetings and salutations.
And this is ASU Sports Talk. It's been a minute since we did an episode due to conflicting schedules and life happening and stuff like that, but we're back. So I'm about to do a quick recap of where we had left off from the last episode. So where we left off was homecoming. We talked about homecoming and what we expected to do against Edward Waters. And turns out our homecoming game, we beat them 30-0. And we were 5-1 at the time and undefeated in SIAC. And we had racked up 429 yards of offense that kept them under 200 yards. Going against Rams, the Rams win against Benedict Tigers. The following week, we went up there to them, and we defeated them also. They scored a pick six on us in the first quarter, but then we just made sure they didn't score anytime soon and had racked up 28 points on them. We had 258 yards of total offense and kept them at 161 yards of total offense. And then on our senior night back at home, we had went against Savannah State Tigers and defeated them 30-0 also. So we had defended our reign at the top of the SIAC East SIAC East. We shut them out, like I said, and Rams ran up 371 yards of total offense and held the Tigers to only 59 yards. Also that day, we had retired Mr. Antonio Leroy's jersey. I think he's the first one, right? The first one for the football college.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have retired his jersey and everything. You can see that on the Peach State College Sports website. I did a video on that. This past Saturday, our most recent game, we had a tough bout against Morehouse College. And boy, we only have 14 points to their 10. So it was a very, very close battle. We had pushed out 229 yards of total offense while keeping the Morehouse at 205. So it was very, very close. And man, anything you want to say about that, Mr. Taylor?
Well, it was a great game. Morehouse came out with a game plan, and their game plan, they showed Albany State something totally different than what Albany State saw on film. Mm-hmm. And basically, what Coach did, and this is what teams are going to look at, is they actually literally brought the house almost every play. They dared Albany State to throw the football deep. They felt like their linebackers could get to the quarterback before the quarterback could get a ball off, and forcing him to throw off balance. And in the fourth quarter of that game, they came after him late in the game when it was 14-10, and Morehouse got an interception late in the game with that pressure defense, and Albany State's defense stood tall and prevented the Maroon Tigers from scoring and possibly winning that game.
Man, that was a tough bout. So as that game was going on, we are also on our production team in-house. We had filmed for ESPN Plus, and we had looked at our previous opponent, which was Savannah State, going against our future opponent for the Fountain City Classic, Fort Valley. And Savannah State basically whooped them too. So Savannah State beat Fort Valley 24-6. I think they only had two field goals, or is it one?
No, they scored a touchdown.
Oh, that's a touchdown. They didn't make the field goal. That's what happened.
They didn't make the PAT.
So, man, what you think about it, Ms. Sarian? Think about that game.
I mean, when we were first supposed to play Savannah, a lot of people said that game was going to be tight, and a lot of people had Savannah actually winning the game. But we actually won the game in the game between Fort Valley and Savannah. I actually had Savannah winning, but in a tighter game. And honestly, if I'm being real, the only reason why Savannah won was not because they did anything super fancy or amazing. Honestly, they won because Fort Valley their quarterback literally turned the ball over almost every time they had a possession, or they just couldn't get it going. The only thing Fort Valley had going for them was their run game, and they had got a pretty good running back. He's a sophomore. He's about 6'1", 220. His name is Emmanuel. I can't remember his last name, but I think the quarterback that they had was young, because it seemed like he wasn't comfortable in the pocket. Him and the receivers weren't connecting. They weren't on the same route concept. When he did end up throwing it, he threw it right into double, triple coverage, and it just seems like he didn't, know how to go through his progressions and read properly to try to find the right receiver on each of the given possessions. So it just seemed like he had a hard time. So that's why Fort Valley definitely had some success. Actually, they had a lot of success running the ball.
Very.
So I think, for us, our run defense is more or less pretty good. So I mean that should be easy for us.
Right. And man, I think we'll do pretty good against Fort Valley if I wouldn't say that. I don't know if we will, considering this is a rivalry game, so they might just turn it up just because it's a rivalry game. But based off what Fort Valley did previously against Savannah State and the way we had beat Savannah State, you would think that we would win by a lot. But like I said, it's a rivalry game, so it could be a very close game, like it always, like what it normally is. So, man, that's a big one.
Yeah, you can. And this game is just like they always say. It's the battle for it all. They call it the showdown before sundown in Columbus, Georgia. And this game traditionally has had conference title implications, but this week Albany State has locked in the Eastern Division conference title,
undefeated,
with the win against Morehouse, and the Fort Valley lost, so they clinched. So the only thing Fort Valley is going to be playing for right now is pride,
right?
And that's a scary thing. If we looked at last Saturday's game up in Fort Valley, the Fort Valley State athletes felt like they were disrespected from before the kickoff, when the Savannah State players came out and kind of stomped on the midfield logo
as well
of the
as
Wildcat.
Well as it wasn't just that. I think
after the game,
I think their Fort Valley's track is new.
Yes,
yeah.
and
so what happened was, a lot of people that are athletes don't notice, but when you have a brand new track, what happens is when you have cleats, it ends up tearing up the track and it ends up getting onto that concrete that's underneath. And that's why you have athletes that wear the proper spikes or the proper shoes to be able to run on that track. And it was a lot of frustration going on, back and forth, rah and John, just because Savannah State felt like that they could just walk on there and, nothing would happen. And they felt like, we disrespect you and we don't care about your track and we can do whatever.
And not only that, at the end of the game, did Savannah State even dap them up?
No, they didn't shake. They didn't shake hands.
They just said farewell.
It wasn't just a sign of disrespect. It was because if they were going to shake hands, it was definitely going to be a fight because there was just so much going on.
There was so much trash talking, and there were several late hits and some people really jawing, and it could have gotten really bad quickly. So shouts out to the officials. They did a great job of keeping control of the game.
Yeah, as much as you want to see, sportsmanship and players that know each other take pictures and talk to after the game, it was just too chaotic.
Man, and wasn't that like an elimination game, right? So do we have to go against Savannah State again?
No, because we already beat them.
Right now, and there's still a question mark in the West. Miles must beat Tuskegee to clinch. Lane still has a shot at winning, but they must win and hope for a Miles loss, and they would be in the conference championship game, and that would mean Albany State would have to travel to Jackson, Tennessee to play Lane, which we haven't played Lane in Jackson, Tennessee in a few years.
Yeah, that's who was usually on our schedule. We haven't played them.
And
so the winner out of whoever is over there on the West, that's who we play for our first.
The East team has to travel this year. Next year, the Eastern Division winner will host.
So we, even though we're probably the better team in the whole overall conference, we still have to travel?
Correct.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because you said the team from the West traveled, 2019 to us, right?
Right.
Okay, yeah.
And this year, the East. And like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the West. So eyes are going to be on that Miles Tuskegee game, which will be on the ESPN Plus.
Because we didn't play Tuskegee this year either, did we?
No.
Yeah, it was a lot of teams that we played in 2019 that we did not play, you know.
And we are hoping that we will add Tuskegee back to the schedule this upcoming season. Keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah,
if we do, it will probably be in the Tuskegee Airman Classic. So keep your fingers crossed. We don't know yet, but we'll see. They're trying to work out, schedules now and scheduling now. So it will be a great atmosphere in Montgomery, Alabama. For those of you who have never been there, it's a great city. A lot of people remember Montgomery from the 50s and 60s with Dr. Martin Luther King.
Civil rights.
But Montgomery, it's a nice, growing, progressive city. And I'm kind of a big guy, and I'm a connoisseur of barbecue. And they have some of the better barbecue I've ever had in my life. Montgomery, Birmingham, Decatur, Alabama. I can go on and on and on. I can name cities, but those 3 cities in Alabama have some of the best barbecue I've ever had. So, shameless plug on Alabama barbecue.
Man, I might have to come down. Even though I graduate this December, I might have to come down. Well, man, I think that's it, man. Honestly, is it weird that we had like about 4 or 5 teams that had all Tigers as their mascot?
Yeah,
kind of noticed that while I was writing this.
Yeah, that was one of the things, and if you notice, a lot of teams had Golden in their names too.
Yeah.
And that was actually because when they came up with the mascots, because as African Americans, we were always God-fearing, and we always said Golden because that meant special, angelic.
Yeah, because who all has Tigers in their name?
So not necessarily Tigers.
Edward Waters had Tigers. Then Benedict Tigers.
Yeah. Morehouse.
And then Savannah State Tigers.
Morehouse.
Then Morehouse Maroon Tigers. Yeah. So Tuskegee. We done went through a whole gauntlet of just Tigers.
Tuskegee folks will have your head if you don't mention them.
Well, we ain't been yet. Let's feature when they go on the schedule.
The Fort Valley, of course, has the Wildcats still going on or whatever, but
yeah, so
that's the same
cousins.
Concept.
Cousins to the Tigers.
Yeah.
You want one with a ram, a whole different animal.
Yeah. And when I used to write for D2football.com, I used to catch a lot of flack, and I told because I had actually called the Morehouse College Golden Tigers the Burgundy Bengals, and I got some hate email, and I'll never forget the person. I'm not going to mention his name, but he really lit into me, and I responded, and I said I meant no disrespect. It was just like, for example, LSU, even though they are the LSU Tigers, sometimes they call them the Bayou Bengals. So that's where I got that from in my column. So I apologized to him, and I said just because he pointed that out to me, and I meant no disrespect. My very next column, when I referred to Albany State, I was going to call them the Yellow Goats, which I did. And he responded by saying he had a whole different level of respect for me.
I mean, just a misunderstanding with 2 men come together.
Well, it wasn't a misunderstanding. It was just he thought that I was trying to demean Morehouse College.
Yeah.
And I would not. I would not demean any HBCU. Now, game day, game week, you'll talk trash to, one of the other HBCUs, but as a rule of thumb, we mean nothing by it. At the end of the game, we're back friends again.
Man.
Until next year.
Yeah, but man, I can't wait for this Fort Valley versus Albany State game though. That's gonna be very, very interesting. Because last year when it went, not last year, but not last Fountain City Classic, where I went, I see some interesting t-shirts. I seen some very interesting t-shirts. But that'll be it for us at ASU Sports Talk. Hopefully we'll do this again next week and give y'all the recap of the Fountain City Classic. Until then, see you later.
Peace.
All right, y'all.